An inflexible millionaire had already fired more than 9 nannies who tried to care for his sick daughter, until a simple woman, ignoring rules and protocols, had the courage to act in an unexpected way. With a simple gesture, she returned to the girl the hope that no one else could touch. And faced with this, the man who believed he could buy everything with money could not hold back his tears. The sprawling estate in the Hamptons stood like a fortress against the Atlantic winds, its glass walls reflecting the morning light as harshly as its owner's temperament. William Thorne adjusted his silk tie, his fingers brushing against the platinum cufflinks that cost more than what most people earned in a month. From his home office window, he could see the immaculate garden where his daughter used to play. Now those swings remained still, the carefully manicured grass untouched by small footprints. "Mr. Thorne?" The house manager, Jenkins, appeared at the doorway, his expression betraying his nervousness. "Miss Patricia has just quit." William didn't turn around. "That's the 9th one in 3 months." "Yes, sir." "She said—" "I don't care what she said." William's voice remained steady, controlled. "Find another one today." Jenkins hesitated. "Sir, with all due respect, word has spread among the agencies. They're reluctant to send anyone else." Now William turned, his steely gray eyes narrowing. At 42, his dark hair showed premature silver at the temples, giving him an air of distinguished authority that served him well in boardrooms across the country. The founder of Thorne Investments rarely heard the word no in his professional life. He wasn't about to accept it in his personal one. Double the salary. Triple it if necessary. "It's not about the money, sir. Miss Patricia left in tears after you fired her for bringing the wrong brand of apple juice." William's jaw tightened. "Lily specifically asked for the green one. The doctor said we need to encourage her to eat and drink." Patricia knew that. The real reason hung unspoken between them. 7-year-old Lily hadn't touched the juice either way. She barely left her room these days, much less consumed anything without a struggle. "I'll handle it," William said, dismissing Jenkins with a wave. "Tell Mrs. Reynolds to sit with Lily until we find someone new." Alone again, William pulled out his phone, scrolling through endless emails demanding his attention. The markets waited for no man, not even one with a sick child. He paused at a message from Dr. Winters. "Lily's latest results show improvement, but her emotional well-being remains concerning. Have you considered the child psychologist I recommended?" William deleted the email. He didn't need another doctor telling him how to raise his daughter. What Lily needed was to get better, to be strong like a Thorne should be. Everything else was secondary. The intercom buzzed. "Sir, Lily's refusing her breakfast again." With a controlled exhale, William set down his phone and made his way through the east wing of the mansion toward his daughter's room. The corridor walls displayed an evolution of family portraits. William and his late wife Catherine, holding infant Lily, then toddler Lily in a ballet tutu, 5-year-old Lily riding her first pony. The most recent photo had been taken just before the diagnosis, before Catherine's heart gave out from the stress of it all, before everything changed. He knocked softly on the pink door adorned with a custom-made nameplate. "Princess?" "It's Daddy." No answer came. He entered anyway, finding the room dim despite the morning hour. The blackout curtains remained drawn, just as Lily preferred them lately. In the center of the canopy bed sat a small lump beneath the covers, only the worn ear of a stuffed rabbit visible. "Mrs. Reynolds says you're not eating your breakfast," William said, perching carefully on the edge of the bed. "The chef made your favorite pancakes, Mickey Mouse shaped, just how you like them." The lump shifted slightly. "I'm not hungry." William reached out, then hesitated, his hand hovering over where he thought his daughter's shoulder might be. "You need to eat to get strong, sweetheart." "I don't want to be strong. I want to be normal." The covers pulled back just enough to reveal Lily's pale face, her blue eyes so like her mother's, standing out starkly against her skin. Where golden curls once framed her face, there was now only smooth scalp still tender from the treatments. "You are normal," William insisted, the words feeling hollow even to his own ears. "The doctor said your hair will grow back." "When?" "Soon." "That's what you always say." Lily pulled the covers back over her head. "You can't fix everything, Daddy." The word stung more than William would admit. He stood, straightening his already impeccable suit. "I have a meeting. Mrs. Reynolds will stay with you until we find a new nanny." From beneath the covers came a muffled, "You'll just fire her too." William paused at the door. wanting to say something that would make it all better. Something Catherine would have known to say. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, he quietly closed the door behind him, instructing Mrs. Reynolds to call if anything changed. In the driveway, his driver held the door to the Bentley open. "The office, sir." "No," William decided. "Take me to Harrington Memorial first. I want to speak with Dr. Winters personally." The hospital's pediatric oncology wing was a place William had grown to both rely on and despise. Its walls were painted with cheerful murals that seemed to mock the suffering within. Dr. Winters, a woman in her 50s with prematurely grey hair and kind eyes, met him in her office. "Mr. Thorne, I didn't expect to see you today." "Your email concerned me," he said, remaining standing even after she gestured to a chair. "You mentioned Lily's results show improvement. What exactly does that mean?" Dr. Winters picked up a file. "The treatment is working, Mr. Thorne. The cancer is responding very well. Medically speaking, Lily is winning her battle." "Then why isn't she acting like it? Why won't she eat or leave her room or look in a mirror?" The doctor's expression softened. "Because medicine can only heal the body, Mr. Thorne. The spirit requires different care." She hesitated before continuing. "I understand you've gone through several nannies." "That's irrelevant." "Is it?" "Lily has experienced tremendous trauma. She's lost her mother, her health, her appearance. Children at this age identify strongly with how they look. The hair loss in particular can be devastating." William's phone buzzed. Another crisis at the office. Another problem he could solve with money or power, or sheer force of will. Unlike the one waiting for him at home. "I'll find her another nanny," he said firmly. "Someone competent this time." Dr. Winters leaned forward. "What Lily needs isn't just competence, Mr. Thorne. She needs connection, compassion, someone who understands what she's going through." "And I don't understand." The words came out sharper than intended. "That's not what I meant. But sometimes an outside perspective can make all the difference." She handed him a card. "This is the child psychologist I mentioned. Please consider it." William took the card automatically but didn't look at it. "Thank you for your time, doctor. Please keep me updated on Lily's medical progress." Back in the car, he stared at the business card. Dr. Sarah Thompson, child psychology specialist. He slipped it into his pocket without really knowing why. Then he made a call. "Jenkins, contact every staffing agency in New York. I want candidates for Lily's new nanny by this afternoon." "And Jenkins? Make sure they understand the stakes this time. I won't tolerate any more failures." As the Bentley merged into Manhattan traffic, William gazed out at the city he had conquered through sheer determination. Skyscrapers bearing the Thorne name stood as monuments to his success. Yet for all his wealth and power, he couldn't make his daughter smile again. Couldn't bring back what the disease had taken from her. For the first time in his life, William Thorne faced a problem he couldn't solve with money, and it terrified him more than he could admit. Emma Davis adjusted her simple ponytail and straightened her unremarkable grey uniform as she waited in the imposing foyer of the Thorne mansion. The employment agency had warned her about this position: 9 predecessors in 3 months, an impossible employer, and a child who needed more than anyone seemed able to give. It was precisely why she had taken it. "Mr. Thorne will see you now," announced the butler, leading her through corridors that displayed wealth in every crystal chandelier and priceless painting. William Thorne's office matched the man himself, meticulous, imposing, and cold. He didn't rise when she entered, instead scrutinizing her resume with narrowed eyes. "Your credentials are limited," he said finally, looking up to study her. At 38, Emma was neither young enough to be energetic nor old enough to be matronly, just ordinary, with her brown hair and simple clothes. Nothing about her suggested she would succeed where others had failed. "I have experience where it counts." "Mr. Thorne," Emma replied, meeting his gaze without flinching, "you've worked primarily as a housekeeper, not a nanny." "I've worked primarily with families in crisis." "Mr. Thorne, different title, same skills." His eyebrow raised slightly at her directness. "My daughter is not in crisis. She's recovering from treatment for leukemia." "A 7-year-old who won't leave her room or look in a mirror sounds like a crisis to me," Emma said quietly. William's jaw tightened. "You seem very informed about our private situation." The walls of staffing agencies have ears, Mr. Thorne, and you've been through quite a few agencies. For a moment, she thought he might dismiss her on the spot. Instead, he set down her resume and stood. Let me be clear, Ms. Davis. This is not a typical childcare position. Lily requires specialized attention. Her diet, her medication schedule, her educational needs, everything must be precisely managed. And her emotional needs? Something flickered across his face. Vulnerability, perhaps, or irritation at having it pointed out. Those two, of course. May I meet her? William hesitated, then nodded. Follow me. As they walked, Emma observed the man beside her. His designer suit couldn't hide the tension in his shoulders, the slight shadows beneath his eyes. A man drowning, but too proud to admit it. Before we enter, William paused outside a pink door. There are things you should know. Lily doesn't like to be seen without her head covered. Don't stare, don't mention it, and for God's sake, don't give her empty platitudes about how it will grow back. Anything else? She has a rabbit. A stuffed one. Catherine, her mother, gave it to her. She rarely lets it go. Emma nodded, noting how he stumbled slightly over his late wife's name. When did you lose your wife, Mr. Thorne? His face hardened again. That's not relevant to your position. Everything about Lily's life is relevant to my position. For a second time, she saw that flicker of surprise at her boldness. 8 months ago. Heart failure. The doctors said the stress of Lily's diagnosis was too much for her congenital condition. His voice had gone clinically detached. Now, shall we? Emma followed him into the room, which despite its size and obvious expense felt claustrophobic, with the curtains drawn and lights dimmed. Her small figure huddled beneath plush covers, only the worn ear of a stuffed rabbit visible. Lily? William's voice softened in a way Emma hadn't expected. There's someone I'd like you to meet. No response came from the bed. This is Miss Davis. She's going to be helping us for a while. Emma stepped forward, ignoring William's presence entirely. Hello, Lily. I hear you have a rabbit. I used to have one too. A real one, though. His name was Thumper, very original, I know. She perched on the edge of the bed, not too close. He had one ear that always flopped down while the other stood straight up. Made him look like he was always asking a question. A slight movement beneath the covers. Progress. What's your rabbit's name? Emma asked. A long pause followed. Then, so quietly they almost missed it. Buttons. Buttons. That's a good name. Does he have a favorite food? The covers shifted again. A small pale face emerged, eyes large and wary. Carrots, but not real ones. Pretend ones. Emma nodded seriously. The best kind. Real carrots are overrated, if you ask me. William cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable with this strange conversation. Lily, Miss Davis will be taking care of you while I'm working. I expect you to listen to her, especially about your meals and medicine. The light that had briefly appeared in Lily's eyes dimmed. She retreated further under the covers. Okay. Emma watched the interaction with interest. Love was there, certainly, but buried beneath layers of fear and discomfort. William Thorne knew how to command boardrooms, but was lost in his daughter's bedroom. I should get back to work, William said, checking his watch. Jenkins will show you to your quarters, Miss Davis. Lily's schedule is on the desk, along with her medication instructions. Emma stood. Actually, Mr. Thorne, I'd prefer to spend some time getting acquainted with Lily first, if that's all right. He frowned. The schedule. We'll still be there in an hour, Emma finished for him. Sometimes getting to know a person is more important than getting to know their timetable. William looked as though he wanted to argue, but glanced at the lump under the covers and seemed to think better of it. Fine, 1 hour. Then I expect you to review all the materials thoroughly. After he left, Emma turned back to the bed. He's gone now. Just us girls and buttons. Slowly, Lily emerged again, a silk scarf wrapped tightly around her head. Are you going to make me eat? Eventually, probably. But not right now. Emma moved to the window and parted the curtains just slightly. Mind if I let in a little light? Not too much, just enough so I don't trip over anything. Lily shrugged, which Emma took as permission. Sunlight streaked across the room, illuminating shelves of untouched toys and books. So, Lily, what do you and Buttons like to do for fun? The girl clutched the worn rabbit tighter. Nothing. Nothing at all? That sounds boring. I used to like things, Lily said after a moment. Before. Emma nodded, understanding. Before you got sick. Before you lost your hair. Before your mum went to heaven. Lily's eyes widened at Emma's directness. Most adults tiptoed around these subjects, speaking in whispers and euphemisms, as if naming the pain might make it worse. Yeah, she whispered. What was your favorite thing to do before? Lily considered the question seriously. Ballet and reading. Mom used to read to me every night. Dad tries, but he doesn't do the voices right. Emma spotted a bookshelf in the corner. May I? Another shrug. Emma selected a worn copy of The Secret Garden and returned to the bed, this time sitting a bit closer. This was my favorite when I was about your age. It's about a girl whose parents die, Lily said flatly. Emma nodded. It is. It's also about a girl who finds magic in unexpected places. She opened to the first page. Would you like me to read a bit? I'm pretty good at voices. For the first time, a tiny smile ghosted across Lily's face. Okay. An hour passed, then 2. William returned to find them still reading, Lily now sitting up against her pillows. Buttons clutched to her chest, but her eyes bright with interest. He stood in the doorway, watching this stranger accomplish with apparent ease what he had failed to do for months. Miss Davis, he interrupted, his tone betraying his irritation. A word, please? In the hallway, his displeasure was evident. You were supposed to review her medical information an hour ago. I prioritized, Emma said simply. Lily needed connection more than I needed to memorize pill schedules. I don't pay you to make those judgments. Then why do you pay me, Mr. Thorne? Emma challenged. To follow instructions blindly? The last 9 did that and they're gone. William's expression darkened. You're overstepping. Probably, she agreed. But someone needs to. Lily's physical health is improving, but her spirit is withering. She needs more than schedules and medications. And you know what she needs after 2 hours? Emma met his gaze steadily. I know she smiled today. Did she smile yesterday? The question hung between them, its answer obvious. William ran a hand through his perfectly groomed hair, momentarily disrupting its order. Review the materials tonight. Tomorrow you follow the schedule. With modifications as necessary for Lily's emotional well-being, Emma countered. William stared at her, unused to being challenged. 1 week, Ms. Davis. You have 1 week to show progress. Real progress, not just reading books and avoiding meals. Understood. Emma turned to go back to Lily's room, then paused. Mr. Thorne? She misses her mother reading to her. Perhaps you could join us for a story before bedtime. With voices, she added with the ghost of a smile. Before he could respond, she disappeared back into the pink bedroom, leaving William standing in the hallway with an unfamiliar feeling stirring in his chest, something between hope and terror. 3 days passed in a delicate dance of small victories and lingering challenges. Emma had managed to coax Lily out of bed for meals, though they ate in her room rather than the cavernous dining room downstairs. The medication schedule was followed, but with games and stories to soften the clinical routine. William observed these changes with cautious optimism, though he remained skeptical of Emma's unorthodox methods. On the 4th morning, Emma arrived at the kitchen earlier than usual. Mrs. Peterson, the cook, looked up in surprise. You're up with the birds today. Ms. Davis. I need to make a quick trip before Lily wakes up, Emma explained, accepting a cup of coffee gratefully. Is there a shopping center nearby? Something with a variety store. Mrs. Peterson raised an eyebrow. There's a strip mall about 15 minutes away in the village. Jenkins could drive you. No need to bother him. I can take a cab. Bother who? William entered the kitchen, already immaculately dressed despite the early hour. He rarely appeared in this part of the house, preferring to take breakfast in his study. Emma turned, surprised. Mr. Thorne, good morning. I was just discussing a quick errand I need to run. What errand? His tone wasn't accusatory, merely precise, as though cataloguing data. A personal project for Lily. Emma sipped her coffee, considering how much to reveal. I'd rather it be a surprise. William frowned slightly. Lily's schedule includes tutoring at 9. Her treatments have put her behind in school. I'll be back well before then, Emma assured him. It's important, Mr. Thorne. Their eyes met in silent negotiation. Finally, he nodded. Take the Mercedes. Jenkins will drive you. That's not necessary. It's faster than waiting for a cab. He pulled out his wallet and extracted several $100 bills. "For whatever you need for this project." Emma hesitated before accepting the money. "Thank you." An hour later, Emma returned with a plain shopping bag. She slipped upstairs without encountering William again, relieved to avoid further questions. In Lily's bathroom, she carefully unpacked her purchases: a simple brown wig, styling scissors, and a few child-friendly hair accessories. Working quickly, Emma trimmed the wig, softening its lines to frame a child's face rather than an adult's. It wasn't perfect, nothing like the custom hairpieces William could undoubtedly afford, but it had something more valuable than perfection. It had possibility. When Lily woke, Emma was sitting beside her bed with the shopping bag in her lap. "Good morning, sleepyhead," Emma greeted her. "I brought you something." Lily sat up, buttons clutched to her chest as always. "What is it?" "Well," Emma began, choosing her words carefully, "I was thinking about how when I broke my leg last year, they gave me a crutch to help me walk until it healed. It wasn't permanent, but it helped during the in-between time." Lily's brow furrowed. "You brought me a crutch?" Emma smiled. "Sort of. A different kind of helper." She removed the wig from the bag and held it gently. "Your hair is growing back, but while we're waiting, I thought maybe this could help you feel more like yourself." Lily stared at the wig, her expression unreadable. For a terrible moment, Emma feared she had miscalculated badly. "It's okay if you don't like it," she added quickly. "It was just a thought." Lily reached out tentatively, her fingers brushing the synthetic strands. "Can I try it on?" "Of course." Emma moved to sit beside her on the bed. "Let me help you." With gentle movements, Emma removed Lily's sleep scarf and positioned the wig carefully on her bare head. "There we go." "Want to see?" Lily nodded, though fear flickered in her eyes. Emma retrieved a hand mirror from the bedside table and held it up. The transformation wasn't just physical. As Lily gazed at her reflection, something awakened in her eyes. Recognition, perhaps, or remembrance of the girl she used to be. The wig wasn't perfect. It wasn't even particularly expensive. But to Lily it was miraculous, and "I look like me," she whispered, touching the brown strands in wonder. "You've always been you," Emma said softly. "Hair or no hair?" Lily turned her head slightly, watching how the hair moved. A smile bloomed across her face, not the hesitant ghost of one Emma had coaxed out with stories, but a full, genuine smile that lit her entire being. "Can we show Daddy?" The question caught Emma by surprise. Of course. He should be in his study. For the first time since Emma's arrival, Lily climbed out of bed without prompting. She put on her slippers and robe, still clutching buttons in one hand, while the other periodically reached up to touch the wig, as if to reassure herself it was still there. They found William on a conference call, his back to the door as he gazed out at the ocean view, while decimating some unfortunate executive's quarterly projections. Emma knocked softly and he turned, irritation clear on his face until he saw who was interrupting. The phone slipped from his hand. "Lily?" She stood in the doorway, suddenly shy. "Hi, Daddy." William ended the call without a word of explanation to whoever was on the other end. He moved toward his daughter slowly, as if afraid she might vanish. "Look at you," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "You look beautiful, Princess." Lily twirled slightly. The simple movement so normal, so childlike, it made Emma's heart ache. "Miss Emma got it for me. It's like a crutch, but for my head." William looked up at Emma, who stood back, allowing father and daughter this moment. His expression was complex, gratitude warring with something darker, something like resentment. "It's wonderful," he said, kneeling to Lily's level. "How do you feel?" "Better." Lily touched the hair again. "Can I go downstairs for breakfast?" "I want Mrs. Peterson to see." The request was so ordinary, yet so monumental given Lily's recent seclusion, that William seemed momentarily speechless. "Of course you can. Should we go now?" Lily nodded eagerly, then looked back at Emma. "Will you come too?" "I wouldn't miss it," Emma assured her. "Why don't you go ahead with your dad? I'll be right behind you." As Lily took her father's hand and led him toward the door, William looked back at Emma. The gratitude in his eyes had solidified, but so had that other emotion, discomfort perhaps, yet how easily this stranger had succeeded where he had failed. The kitchen erupted in controlled joy when Lily entered. Mrs. Peterson clasped her hands to her chest. Jenkins smiled broadly, and even the usually stoic housekeeper exclaimed over how grown-up Lily looked. Through it all, William stood slightly apart, watching his daughter blossom under attention she would have hidden from just days ago. "Pancakes," Mrs. Peterson declared. "This calls for chocolate chip pancakes." As the kitchen staff bustled about, William approached Emma, who had taken a seat at the far end of the kitchen island. "How much do I owe you for the wig?" he asked quietly. "Nothing. Your advance covered it. I gave you $500. Emma met his gaze steadily. "It was $40, Mr. Thorne. The rest is in an envelope on my dresser." He stared at her. $40? For that transformation? "The transformation was free," Emma said. "The wig cost $40. William glanced at his daughter, now sitting at the counter, chatting animatedly with Mrs. Peterson about pancake toppings. "I could have bought her the finest custom hairpiece. Flown-in specialists from Europe. Real human hair perfectly matched to her natural color." "You still can," Emma pointed out. "But she needed this today, not after weeks of fittings and international shipping." "I would have thought of it eventually," he said, a defensive edge creeping into his voice. "I'm sure you would have." Emma's tone held no judgment, but William felt it anyway. "You've been here 4 days," he continued, lowering his voice further. "I've been trying to help her for months. Sometimes it takes an outside perspective," Emma offered. "You're too close to see certain solutions." William's jaw tightened. "And you're not too close?" "No," she said simply. "I'm not her father. I don't carry the weight of feeling like I need to fix everything perfectly." The truth of her words struck him like a physical blow. Before he could respond, Lily called out, "Daddy! Miss Emma, the pancakes are ready." Breakfast was a revelation. Lily ate without prompting, occasionally reaching up to touch her new hair but otherwise behaving like any normal 7-year-old. She asked to call Dr. Winters to tell her about the wig. She wondered if she could return to her ballet classes. She wanted to know if they could go to the park later. Each request, so ordinary before her illness, now felt like a miracle. William said yes to everything, his work forgotten for perhaps the first time since Catherine's passing. Later, as Lily worked with her tutor, in the sunlit conservatory rather than her darkened bedroom, William found Emma organizing Lily's medications for the week. "Thank you," he said abruptly. Emma looked up, surprised at the gratitude from this proud man. "You're welcome. But it's really Lily doing all the hard work." Nevertheless, he cleared his throat. "I've been ineffective at helping her through this. I recognize that now." "You've been grieving too," Emma said gently, "and trying to run an empire simultaneously. That's a lot for anyone to manage." William's expression shuttered slightly. "Yes, well, the point is, you've made more progress in 4 days than we've seen in months. I'm appreciative." Emma smiled. "High praise indeed from William Thorne." Something flickered in his eyes, surprise perhaps at her teasing tone. Few people in his world spoke to him with such casual disregard for his status. "I've increased your salary," he continued. "All business again. Effective immediately." "That's not necessary, Sam, it is to me." His tone brooked no argument. "Results deserve rewards, Miss Davis. That's how the world works." As he turned to leave, Emma called after him. "Money isn't always the answer, Mr. Thorne." He paused in the doorway. "In my experience, Miss Davis, it usually is." But the image of his daughter's smile, brought about by a $40 wig rather than all his millions, followed him back to his study, raising uncomfortable questions he wasn't yet ready to answer. 2 weeks passed, bringing changes to the Thorne household that seemed nothing short of miraculous. Lily ventured outside for the first time in months, first just to the garden, then for short walks along the private beach. She returned to her ballet stretches, practicing in front of the mirror with buttons watching from a nearby chair. The wig became her constant companion, though Emma noticed she was growing more comfortable with occasionally removing it in the privacy of her room. William, too, was changing, though perhaps less dramatically. He rearranged his schedule to be home for dinner 3 nights a week. He joined Lily for bedtime stories with increasing frequency, his initial stiffness with the character voices gradually giving way to surprisingly theatrical performances that left his daughter giggling. But beneath the surface improvements, Emma sensed a current of unease. William watched her interactions with Lily too carefully, his expression unreadable. He asked pointed questions about Emma's background, her previous employers, her training with children. And twice now Emma had entered rooms to find conversations abruptly halted, Jenkins and William exchanging significant glances before changing the subject. She was being investigated. The realization didn't particularly surprise her. A man like William Thorne wouldn't allow anyone extended access to his vulnerable daughter without thorough vetting. Still, it created a knot of anxiety in her stomach that grew tighter each day. On a bright Tuesday morning, Emma took Lily to her weekly checkup with Dr. Winters. William usually attended these appointments, but an emergency board meeting had kept him in the city. As they waited in the cheerful examination room, Lily fidgeted with her wig. "Do you think Dr. Winters will like my hair?" she asked, not for the first time. "She'll love it," Emma assured her. "But you know what she'll love even more? Seeing how well you're feeling." Dr. Winters entered with her usual warm smile, which broadened at the sight of Lily sitting up on the examination table rather than huddled against her father. "Well, look at you," she exclaimed. "I love the new hairstyle," Lily beamed. "Miss Emma got it for me. It's not real, but it looks real, doesn't it?" "Very real," Dr. Winters agreed, glancing at Emma with open approval. "Your dad couldn't make it today." "Board meeting?" Emma explained. "He asked me to record everything and take detailed notes." The examination proceeded smoothly. Lily's blood counts continued to improve. Her weight had increased slightly, and her overall energy levels were markedly better. When Dr. Winters asked about her activities, Lily chattered excitedly about returning to ballet stretches and helping Mrs. Peterson bake cookies the previous weekend. "I'm very impressed," Dr. Winters said as she completed her notes. "You've made remarkable progress, Lily. I think we can reduce your clinic visits to every other week now." After scheduling the next appointment, Emma and Lily stopped for ice cream on the way home, a small reward that would have been unthinkable a month ago. As Lily happily devoured her strawberry cone, Emma's phone rang. "Miss Davis," William's voice was clipped. "Where are you?" "Getting ice cream after Lily's appointment. Dr. Winters gave her excellent news. Come back to the house immediately." Something in his tone made Emma's stomach tighten. "Is everything all right?" "We'll discuss it when you arrive." The call ended abruptly. Emma maintained a cheerful facade for Lily's sake, but dread built inside her during the drive back. The house, when they arrived, felt unnaturally still. Jenkins took Lily upstairs for her afternoon rest period, his expression carefully neutral as he avoided Emma's questioning gaze. William waited in his study, standing by the window rather than seated behind his imposing desk. On the desk lay an open folder. Emma recognized it immediately, her personnel file. "Close the door," he instructed without turning. Emma obeyed, then stood quietly, waiting. William finally faced her, his expression glacial. "You're not who you claim to be." The words hung between them, heavy with accusation. Emma's hands trembled slightly, but she clasped them together to hide it. "I never claimed to be anyone other than Emma Davis." "Emma Davis, yes." William picked up a document from his desk. "Formerly Dr. Emma Davis Reynolds, board-certified child psychiatrist, formerly on staff at Boston Children's Hospital, until a personal tragedy ended your career." His eyes locked with hers. "Did you think I wouldn't find out?" Emma exhaled slowly. "I knew you would eventually. I'm surprised it took this long, honestly. You deliberately concealed your credentials when applying for this position." "I didn't conceal anything. I simply didn't volunteer information that wasn't asked for." William's expression hardened. "Don't play games with me. You presented yourself as a housekeeper seeking a nanny position." "No," Emma countered quietly. "The agency presented me that way. I never lied on my application. Lies of omission are still lies, Miss Davis, or should I say Dr. Davis Reynolds?" Emma winced slightly at the name. "I haven't used that title in 2 years, since your daughter's passing." William's voice softened almost imperceptibly. "Leukemia, the same as Lily." Emma's heart constricted painfully. "Yes, and after her departure, you were involved in a serious car accident, one that raised questions about your state of mind." "I see your investigation was thorough," Emma said, struggling to keep her voice steady. William walked around the desk, his movements controlled but radiating tension. What I can't determine is your motive for infiltrating my home under false pretenses. Are you conducting some kind of psychological study? Using my daughter as a subject for your research? The accusation stung. No, of course not. Then what? Revenge against the medical establishment that couldn't save your own child. Working through your grief by attaching yourself to a similar case. Stop! Emma's voice cracked. It wasn't like that. William stepped closer, his eyes boring into hers. Then what was it like, Dr. Davis Reynolds? Why are you really here? Because I understand. The words burst from her, raw and unfiltered. I understand what Lily is going through in a way no one else in her life can. I understand what it's like to watch your child suffer, to feel powerless, to grasp at anything that might bring a moment of normality or joy. William flinched as if struck. I am perfectly capable of understanding my daughter's needs. Are you? You've spent months trying to solve her unhappiness, with expensive specialists and rigid schedules. You fired 9 perfectly competent caregivers for minor infractions because you were frustrated that nothing was working. How dare you? I dared because Lily needed someone who could see beyond the medical charts and educational milestones, Emma continued, her professional composure crumbling. She needed someone who understood that sometimes a $40 wig and permission to feel sad can do more healing than all the top-tier oncologists in the country. Silence fell between them, heavy with unspoken pain on both sides. William turned away, bracing his hands on the desk. You should have been honest from the beginning. Would you have hired me if I had? Emma asked. A psychiatrist who lost her own daughter to the same disease, who had a mental breakdown and drove her car into a tree. Or would you have seen me as too emotionally compromised to be trusted with Lily? The question hung in the air, its answer evident in William's silence. I took this job because I saw a child suffering the way my Olivia suffered, Emma said more quietly. And I saw a father drowning in the same helplessness I experienced. I needed to make a difference. To find meaning in what happened to my family. William's shoulders tensed. By deceiving me. By helping Lily and you. He turned back to face her, his expression conflicted. Your background check revealed other concerning elements. After your daughter's passing, there were allegations of medical misconduct, Emma finished for him. Yes, I know. I was investigated and cleared. The details were sealed. Emma swallowed hard. Olivia was in pain. Terrible pain that no child should endure. Her final days were, she closed her eyes briefly. The allegations suggested I hastened her passing by administering an excessive dose of morphine. William watched her carefully. Did you? I gave my daughter comfort in her final hours, Emma said, meeting his gaze directly. As any parent would. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Emma's voice was steady now, despite the tears threatening at the edges of her composure. The medical board found no evidence of wrongdoing, but the whispers followed me. Combined with my accident, which many assumed was a suicide attempt rather than the result of sleep deprivation and grief, my professional reputation was destroyed. William studied her for a long moment. Why didn't you fight to clear your name completely? Because I was tired of fighting, Emma admitted. My daughter was gone. My marriage had crumbled under the weight of our grief. My professional identity no longer seemed important. So you became a housekeeper, Emma nodded. I needed work that allowed me to still help families without the scrutiny or responsibility of being Dr. Davis Reynolds. Cleaning homes, cooking meals, occasionally caring for children. It kept me functioning when nothing else could. William returned to the window, his back to her once more. Emma waited, certain he was about to fire her, already mentally preparing how she would say goodbye to Lily. Lily has her next treatment session tomorrow, he said finally. Dr. Winters wants to discuss reducing her medication. The non sequitur caught Emma off guard. Yes, she mentioned that today. I assume, given your medical background, you have opinions on this course of action. Emma hesitated, trying to understand where this conversation was heading. Yes, I think it's appropriate given her progress, though we should monitor closely for any changes in her blood counts. William turned, his expression unreadable. And what would you recommend for managing her emotional response to the treatment? She's been doing well, but these sessions often trigger setbacks. Are you asking for my professional opinion? I'm asking for your help, William said, the words clearly difficult for him. Whatever your reasons for being here, your methods are working. Lily is thriving under your care in a way she hasn't since before Catherine's passing. Hope flickered in Emma's chest. Does this mean I can stay? It means I'm weighing the benefits against the significant breach of trust. William's jaw tightened. I don't like being deceived, Dr. Davis. Emma, she corrected gently. Just Emma now. Their eyes met. A current of understanding passing between them. Two people who had endured different but parallel journeys through grief and helplessness. I need time to consider the situation fully, William said finally. In the meantime, Lily doesn't need another disruption. You may continue your duties while I decide how to proceed. It wasn't forgiveness or acceptance, but it was something. Thank you. As Emma turned to leave, William spoke again, his voice softer than she'd ever heard it. Your daughter, Olivia, how old was she? Emma paused at the door, her hand on the knob. 7, the same age as Lily. The knowledge settled between them, another layer in their complicated connection. William nodded once, a gesture of acknowledgement rather than dismissal. Outside in the hallway, Emma leaned against the wall, trembling with the aftermath of adrenaline and emotion. The truth was out now, at least part of it. The rest, the darkest parts of her story, remained hers alone to carry. For now. The days following William's discovery of Emma's true identity unfolded in a delicate balance of tension and routine. He maintained a cool professionalism around her, their interactions limited to discussions of Lily's care and schedule. Yet he made no move to dismiss her, watching instead with calculating eyes as his daughter continued to flourish under her guidance. For Lily's sake, Emma pretended nothing had changed. She read stories, supervised gentle exercise, and celebrated each small victory in the child's recovery. But underneath her calm exterior, anxiety gnawed at her. The precarious situation couldn't last indefinitely. William Thorne was not a man who left matters unresolved. A week after their confrontation, Emma took Lily for a walk along the private beach. The September air carried the first hint of autumn, but sunshine still warmed the sand beneath their feet. Lily wore her wig, secured with a colorful scarf that fluttered in the breeze. Miss Emma? Lily asked, bending to examine a shell. Are you and Daddy fighting? The question caught Emma off guard. What makes you ask that? Lily shrugged, her small fingers tracing the ridges of the shell. You don't talk to each other anymore, and Daddy looks at you funny when he thinks I'm not watching. Children missed so little, Emma reflected. Even children preoccupied with their own battles. Your dad and I had a disagreement, she admitted, choosing honesty within limits. Grown-ups sometimes do that. About me? About me, actually. Emma sat on the sand, patting the spot beside her. Lily joined her, leaning slightly against her side. I didn't tell your dad everything about myself when I first came here. Lily considered this seriously. You mean like a lie? More like not telling the whole truth. I used to be a doctor who helped children with their feelings. Children who were sick or sad. Like me? Yes, like you. Emma wrapped an arm around Lily's narrow shoulders. But something sad happened in my life, and I stopped being a doctor. I didn't tell your dad about that part of my past. Lily was quiet for a moment, digesting this information. Is that why you understand about the wig and stuff? Because you helped other kids before? Partly, Emma acknowledged, her throat tightening. And partly because I had a little girl once and she got sick too. Lily looked up, her eyes wide. Where is she now? Emma took a deep breath. She went to heaven like your mom. Oh, Lily's hand found Emma's, small fingers interlacing with larger ones. That's really sad. It is, Emma agreed. But helping you has brought me a lot of happiness. They sat together watching the waves, a shared understanding between them that transcended words. After a while, Lily spoke again. Daddy won't make you leave, will he? Because of the not whole truth thing. The question pierced Emma's heart. I don't know, sweetheart. That's up to your dad. I could ask him to let you stay. I could promise to eat all my vegetables and take my medicine without complaining. Emma smiled despite the ache in her chest. Your dad doesn't make decisions that way. He does what he thinks is best for you, always. You're what's best for me, Lily said with a child's simple certainty. You and Daddy both. Back at the house, William waited in the kitchen, his expression grave. Jenkins hovered nearby, unusually agitated. "Lily, Mrs. Peterson has made cookies," William said, his tone deliberately light. "Why don't you help her decorate them while I speak with Miss Davis?" Lily looked between them, her earlier suspicions clearly confirmed. "Daddy, it's okay," Emma reassured her. "Go have fun with the cookies. Save me one with extra sprinkles." Once Lily had reluctantly joined Mrs. Peterson in the pantry, William gestured for Emma to follow him. Not to his study this time, but to the rarely used formal living room where Catherine's grand piano stood silent beneath a dust cover. A man in an ill-fitting suit waited there, his weathered face suggesting years in law enforcement. He stood when they entered, nodding curtly to William. "Miss Davis," William began, his voice controlled, "this is Detective Morales. He'd like to ask you some questions." Ice flooded Emma's veins. "About?" "About the circumstances surrounding your daughter's passing," Detective Morales said, his tone professionally neutral, "and your subsequent accident." Emma's gaze snapped to William, betrayal and disbelief evident in her expression. "You called the police?" "I didn't," William insisted, though his discomfort was evident. "Detective Morales contacted me after my investigators made inquiries into your background." "Routine follow-up," the detective added, though nothing about this felt routine to Emma. "We were notified when someone accessed the sealed records of the investigation." Emma sank onto the nearest chair, her legs suddenly unsteady. "That investigation was closed. I was cleared of all wrongdoing." "Officially, yes," Morales acknowledged, "but there were inconsistencies that troubled some of us on the force. When we learned you were working with another seriously ill child, it raised concerns." The implication struck Emma like a physical blow. "You think I would harm Lily? After everything I've done to help her?" William stepped forward. "No one is suggesting, aren't they?" Emma interrupted, anger displacing her initial shock. "Why else would a detective be here questioning me about a case that was resolved 2 years ago?" Detective Morales pulled a small notebook from his pocket. "Dr. Davis Reynolds, the investigation into your daughter's passing concluded that she succumbed to complications from late-stage leukemia. However, the toxicology report showed unusually high levels of morphine in her system." "She was in pain," Emma said, her voice tight. "Terrible pain. Her doctor had authorized increased dosages for comfort care. The prescribed amount was 5 mg every 4 hours," Morales continued, consulting his notes. The amount in her system suggested a much higher dose. William watched this exchange with growing discomfort. "Detective, perhaps we should—" The medical examiner noted that while the morphine alone might not have been enough to cause her passing, combined with her weakened state, it could have accelerated the inevitable. Morales pressed on. "And then there's the matter of your accident 6 weeks later. You drove your car into a tree at 65 miles per hour on a straight road with clear visibility." Emma's hands clenched in her lap. "I fell asleep at the wheel. I was exhausted from grief and working too many hours. Without a seatbelt," Morales added. "An unusual oversight for a doctor known for her attention to detail." "Enough," William's voice cut through the tension. "Detective, I appreciate your concern, but I believe Miss Davis has answered your questions." Morales looked surprised at the interruption. "Mr. Thorne, given your daughter's vulnerable condition—" "My daughter has improved dramatically under Miss Davis's care," William stated firmly. "Whatever happened in Boston 2 years ago has no bearing on the present situation. With all due respect, sir, if there's any possibility that—" "There isn't." William moved to stand beside Emma's chair, a subtle but clear indication of his position. "Miss Davis has my complete confidence. Now, unless you have an actual warrant or new evidence to present, I believe this conversation is over." The detective's expression hardened. "This isn't just going to disappear, Mr. Thorne. Even your resources can't make a homicide investigation vanish." "Homicide?" Emma gasped. "That was never—" "It was considered," Morales interrupted, "and some of us felt it should have been pursued further. A mother who couldn't bear to watch her child suffer any longer. It happens more often than people realize." William's hand came to rest on Emma's shoulder, surprising both her and the detective. "Jenkins will show you out, Detective. If you have further questions, you can direct them to my legal team." After a tense moment, Morales tucked away his notebook. "He'll be in touch." At the doorway he paused, Ms. Davis, don't leave the state. This isn't over. When Jenkins had escorted the detective from the premises, Emma remained frozen in her chair, trembling slightly. William moved to the bar cart in the corner and poured 2 fingers of scotch into a crystal tumbler. "Drink this," he instructed, pressing the glass into her hand. Emma accepted it automatically but didn't drink. "Why did you defend me?" William took a seat across from her, loosening his tie in an uncharacteristic display of discomfort. "Because his accusations were absurd. I've watched you with Lily for weeks now. Whatever happened with your daughter, you would never harm mine." "You can't know that," Emma whispered. "You don't know what really happened that night. Then tell me." Their eyes met across the elegant coffee table that separated them. Emma took a shaky sip of the scotch, welcoming the burn that momentarily distracted from her emotional pain. "Olivia was dying," she began, her voice barely audible. The doctors had given her days, maybe hours. The cancer had spread everywhere. Her little body was shutting down, and the pain— Emma closed her eyes briefly. The pain was unbearable to witness. They had her on the highest dose of morphine they could justify. But it barely touched the edges of her suffering. William remained silent, his expression grave but not judgmental. That last night she couldn't stop screaming, begging me to make it stop. My husband had stepped out. He couldn't bear to watch anymore. The nurse had just administered her scheduled dose, but it wasn't enough. It was never enough. Emma's fingers tightened around the glass. I had access to the medications. I knew exactly how much would ease her pain without hastening the inevitable. And I knew how much would cross that line. "What did you do, Emma?" William asked softly. I sat with her. I held her hand. I sang her favorite lullaby. Tears slid silently down Emma's cheeks. And when she finally fell asleep, peacefully, without pain for the first time in weeks, I thanked God for his mercy. "Did you administer an extra dose?" Emma met his gaze directly. The medical examiner found elevated levels of morphine in her system. The investigation concluded that the cumulative effect of her prescribed doses, combined with her liver failure, caused the higher concentration. I was cleared of any wrongdoing. It wasn't precisely an answer, and they both knew it. "And the car accident?" William pressed gently. "I don't remember much about it," Emma admitted. "Those weeks after Olivia, after she left us, they're a blur. I was functioning on autopilot, working impossible hours at the hospital, barely sleeping, barely eating. Were you trying to join your daughter?" The question hung between them, heavy with implications. Emma stared into her glass. "I don't think so, not consciously. But I can't say I was particularly invested in my own survival at that point." She looked up at him. "I would never harm Lily, you have to believe that." "I do," William said, surprising them both with his certainty. But Detective Morales clearly doesn't, and he seems determined to reopen the investigation. "Why now? After all this time?" William's expression darkened. "My investigators were discreet, but accessing sealed records creates digital footprints. Someone noticed and alerted Morales." "What happens now?" Emma asked, the reality of her situation settling like a stone in her stomach. "Now I make some calls." William stood, decision clearly made. "My legal team will handle Morales. In the meantime, nothing changes with your position here." Emma stared at him in disbelief. "You're not firing me. Would that make Detective Morales go away? Would it help Lily?" William straightened his tie, resuming his usual commanding presence. "No, so we continue as before while I address this complication. Just like that. You're choosing to believe me over a police detective?" William paused, considering his response carefully. "I'm choosing to trust what I've observed with my own eyes, your dedication to my daughter's well-being. The rest," he shrugged slightly, "the rest is just noise until proven otherwise." Emma set down her barely touched scotch, overwhelmed by this unexpected support. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," William cautioned. "This situation is far from resolved, but we'll face it without disrupting Lily's progress." The "we" didn't escape Emma's notice. Somehow, despite the revelations and accusations, William Thorne had placed himself on her side of the battle line. "Now," he continued, checking his watch, "I believe you promised Lily a story before her afternoon rest. We shouldn't disappoint her." As Emma rose to leave, William added, "And Emma, no more secrets between us." Whatever comes to light, I need to hear it from you first. She nodded, understanding the gravity of his request. No more secrets. But as she walked toward the kitchen where Lily waited, Emma wondered if William truly wanted the complete truth. Some burdens were too heavy to share, some choices too impossible to explain, and some secrets once revealed could never be forgotten by either of them. The next morning broke with ominous clouds gathering over the Atlantic, a fitting backdrop for the tension that had settled over the Thorne estate. Emma went through her routine mechanically, preparing Lily's medications, reviewing her schedule for the day, trying to maintain normalcy despite the sword of Damocles hanging over her head. William had departed before dawn for an emergency meeting with his legal team in Manhattan. His parting words to Emma had been simple but loaded with meaning. Keep Lily safe. I'll handle everything else. As if summoned by her thoughts, her phone vibrated with a text from him. Detective requesting formal interview tomorrow. Lawyer will accompany you. Explain nothing today. Emma's stomach twisted. The reprieve had been brief indeed. Pushing aside her anxiety, she focused on preparing Lily for her doctor's appointment. The little girl seemed oblivious to the undercurrents of adult concern, chattering happily about a ballet recital video Mrs. Peterson had found in the house archives. Mum looks so pretty in it, Lily explained as Emma helped her with her shoes. She's watching me dance. Mrs. Peterson says I look just like her when I smile. I bet you do, Emma agreed, forcing warmth into her voice despite her inner turmoil. Your mum must have been very beautiful. She was. Lily's voice took on the dreamlike quality it often did when discussing Catherine. Daddy says I have her eyes exactly. Do you think that's why he sometimes looks sad when he looks at me? The innocent question caught Emma off guard. I think. Sometimes when we love someone very much, and they're not with us anymore, seeing pieces of them in others can make us feel both happy and sad at the same time. Lily considered this, her brow furrowed in concentration. Like bittersweet chocolate? Emma smiled genuinely for the first time that morning. Yes, exactly like that. Sweet because of the love, bitter because of the missing. I miss her all the time, Lily admitted quietly, but I don't remember her voice anymore. Is that bad? No, sweetheart. It's just how our memories work sometimes. Maybe you could ask your dad to show you more videos so you can hear her voice again. Lily brightened at the suggestion. Can we ask him tonight? Of course. The drive to the doctor's office was mercifully uneventful. Dr. Winters greeted them warmly, clearly pleased by Lily's continued progress. The examination went smoothly, until the doctor suggested they could remove the temporary port that had been used for Lily's chemotherapy treatments. The procedure is very simple, Dr. Winters explained, but it does require light sedation. Lily's eyes widened in alarm. Will it hurt? Will I have to stay in the hospital? Just for a few hours, Dr. Winters assured her. And you'll be asleep for the procedure itself. Emma noticed Lily's hand drifting protectively to her chest, where the port lay beneath her shirt. When would this happen? She asked the doctor. We could schedule it for next week. It's an important milestone, Lily. It means your body is strong enough that we don't need such easy access to your veins anymore. Despite this positive framing, Lily remained anxious throughout the remainder of the appointment. In the car afterward, she clutched buttons tightly, her earlier cheerfulness evaporated. What if something goes wrong? She asked in a small voice. What if I don't wake up? Emma reached across to squeeze her hand. Dr. Winters has done this procedure hundreds of times. It's very safe. But what if I'm different? What if... Lily's voice caught. What if I end up with Mom? The question pierced Emma's heart. Oh, sweetheart. That's not going to happen. You don't know that. Nobody knows that. Emma pulled the car over into a scenic overlook along the coastal road. Turning in her seat, she gave Lily her full attention. You're right. I can't promise nothing will ever go wrong. But I can promise that Dr. Winters and her team are excellent at their jobs, and this procedure is very routine for them. I'm still scared, Lily whispered. Being scared is okay. Being brave doesn't mean not feeling afraid. It means doing what needs to be done even when you're frightened. Lily's gaze dropped to her lap, where she fidgeted with Button's worn ear. Like when I had to get my first treatment. Daddy said I was the bravest girl in the world that day. Exactly like that. And you know what? I bet your dad would want to be there when they remove your port. He could hold your hand until you fall asleep and be right there when you wake up. This suggestion seemed to comfort Lily somewhat. They continued the drive home, Lily gradually relaxing enough to point out shapes in the gathering storm clouds overhead. At the house, Jenkins met them at the door, his usual composure slightly strained. "Miss Davis, there's a visitor waiting in the library. Mr. Thorne requested that Lily have her lunch with Mrs. Peterson while you attend to this matter." Emma's pulse quickened. "Who is it?" "A Mr. James Reynolds." The name hit her like a physical blow. "James is here now?" Jenkins nodded solemnly. "He arrived about 30 minutes ago. He was most insistent on seeing you." Emma knelt to Lily's level. "Sweetheart, I need to speak with someone important. Can you go with Jenkins and have lunch with Mrs. Peterson? Maybe she can show you more of those videos we talked about." Lily, sensing the tension but not understanding its source, nodded reluctantly. "Will you come find me after?" "As soon as I can," Emma promised. With Lily safely escorted to the kitchen, Emma steeled herself and headed toward the library. Each step felt heavier than the last, memories and regrets swirling through her mind. It had been over a year since she'd last seen her ex-husband at their final divorce hearing, where he could barely look at her. James stood by the fireplace, examining the collection of first editions that William so proudly displayed. At 40, he still carried himself with the athletic grace that had first attracted Emma 15 years ago. His dark hair had more silver now, and new lines etched his face, but he was unmistakably the man she had once pledged her life to. "Hello, James," she said softly. He turned, his expression a complex mixture of emotions she couldn't fully decipher. "Emma, you look... well, what are you doing here?" "Detective Morales contacted me." He stepped away from the bookshelf, hands sliding into his pockets, a familiar gesture when he was uncomfortable. "He said you were working for some billionaire, taking care of his sick daughter. Is that true?" "Yes." "Jesus, Emma!" James ran a hand through his hair. "What were you thinking?" After everything that happened with Olivia, Emma's spine stiffened. "I was thinking I could help a child who's suffering. A child who's getting better, by the way. That's not your job anymore. You gave up that right when..." He stopped abruptly, as if remembering himself. "The detective seems to think you might be unstable. That history could repeat itself." "That's ridiculous. The circumstances are completely different." James studied her face. "Are they? A 7-year-old girl with leukemia? A workaholic single father. Sounds eerily familiar to me." The parallel hadn't escaped Emma, but hearing it stated so baldly was jarring. "Lily is responding well to treatment. She's in remission, and William is nothing like you were." The moment the words left her mouth, Emma regretted them. James flinched visibly. "I deserved that, I suppose," he said quietly. "I wasn't there for either of you at the end. I couldn't watch her suffer anymore." "Why are you here, James?" "Really?" He moved closer, his expression softening. "Because despite everything, I don't want to see you go through another investigation. Another public scrutiny of the worst moment of our lives." He lowered his voice. "Morales is convinced you helped Olivia along. He thinks you might do the same to this man's daughter if her condition worsens." "That's insane," Emma whispered, though a chill ran through her at the accusation. "I would never harm Lily. I love her." "The way you loved Olivia?" James asked, his gaze intense. "That's what worries me, Em. That's what worries Morales, too. Love makes people do desperate things when someone is suffering." Emma took an involuntary step backward. "What exactly did you tell him?" "Nothing he didn't already suspect. That you were devastated. That you blamed yourself for not being able to save her. That after she was gone, you weren't yourself. So you confirmed his theory that I'm some kind of angel of mercy killer." Emma's voice rose despite her efforts to control it. "How could you?" "I told him the truth as I saw it," James countered. "That you were a devoted mother who would have done anything to spare her child pain. I never said you hastened her passing, but you implied it." James didn't deny the accusation. "Emma, I'm here because Morales is building a case. He's going to request the hospital records from Olivia's final night. The nurse's statements, everything." "Let him," Emma said, though fear clutched at her heart. "I was cleared of wrongdoing. On insufficient evidence, according to him." James moved toward the door, then paused. "He's going to try to remove you from this household. For the child's protection, he says. He can't do that without proof." And there is no proof because there was no crime. James studied her for a long moment. Do you ever think about that night? The choices we made? Every day, Emma admitted, her voice barely audible. So do I. James opened the door, then turned back one final time. Be careful, Emma. This man, Thorne, he has the resources to protect you now, but if Morales builds a convincing case... William believes in me. A sad smile crossed James's face. So did I once. Before Olivia's last night. With that parting statement, he was gone, leaving Emma alone with the ghosts of her past. She remained in the library for several minutes, trying to compose herself before seeking out Lily. The storm that had threatened all morning finally broke, rain lashing against the windows in sheets that matched her inner turmoil. When she finally made her way to the kitchen, she found Lily curled up on a window seat, watching the rain while Mrs. Peterson prepared dinner. The girl brightened when she saw Emma. Ms. Emma! Mrs. Peterson showed me 3 videos of Mom. In one, she was singing me a lullaby. I remember the song now. Emma forced a smile. That's wonderful, sweetheart. Who was that man you were talking to? Jenkins said he knew you from before. An old friend, Emma said, the half-truth bitter on her tongue. From when I lived in Boston. Lily accepted this explanation without question, returning her attention to the storm outside. Do you think Daddy will make it home before dark? The roads get slippery when it rains this hard. I'm sure he'll be careful, Emma assured her, though her own concerns for William's return had nothing to do with road conditions. As if summoned by their conversation, the sound of tires on gravel announced William's arrival. Minutes later, he appeared in the kitchen doorway, suit slightly damp despite his umbrella, expression grim until he spotted Lily. There's my princess, he said, his voice warming as he crossed to kiss the top of her head. How was your day? While Lily enthusiastically recounted discovering the videos of her mother, William's eyes met Emma's over his daughter's head. A silent question passed between them, which Emma answered with a slight nod. Yes, James had been here. Yes, there was cause for concern. Lily, why don't you go wash up for dinner? William suggested once she'd finished her story. I need to speak with Miss Emma for a moment. Once they were alone, William's professional facade cracked slightly. Reynolds was here. What did he want? To warn me, Emma said quietly. Morales contacted him. He's building a case, William. He wants to remove me from your household. William's expression hardened. On what grounds? Suspicion that I hastened my daughter's passing, that I might do the same to Lily if her condition worsens. That's absurd. Lily is in remission. Leukemia can be unpredictable, Emma reminded him gently. Morales is suggesting I'm a risk to her safety. William began pacing, a rare display of agitation. My lawyers are working on having the investigation shut down. Morales is exceeding his authority by pursuing a case that was already closed. But what if he succeeds? What if he convinces a judge that I'm a danger to Lily? William stopped pacing, his gaze intense. Did you do it, Emma? Did you end your daughter's suffering that night? The question hung between them, unavoidable now. Emma closed her eyes briefly. The memory of that terrible night washing over her, Olivia's screams, the morphine pump, James's broken expression as he returned to find their daughter finally, peacefully quiet. I increased her morphine drip beyond the prescribed dose, Emma admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. She was in agony, William, agony that no medication was touching. I couldn't bear it anymore. Tears slid down her cheeks. Does that make me a monster? William was silent for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then, to her surprise, he moved closer and took her hands in his. It makes you a mother who couldn't bear to see her child suffer, he said quietly. I don't know what I would have done in your position. I pray I never have to find out. Emma stared at him in disbelief. You don't condemn me. It's not my place to judge you, Emma, but I do know this. You've brought life back to my daughter. You've helped her heal in ways I couldn't. That's the woman I know. Not whatever broken version of yourself made that impossible choice 2 years ago. Before Emma could respond, a small voice came from the doorway. Ms. Emma, are you crying? They turned to find Lily watching them, her expression concerned. William quickly released Emma's hands, but not before his daughter had noticed their closeness. Just a little, Emma admitted, wiping her eyes. Sometimes grown-ups cry too. Lily approached cautiously. "Is it because of that man who came to see you? Did he make you sad?" "He reminded me of some sad things," Emma explained carefully. "But I'm feeling better now." Lily looked between them, her young face surprisingly perceptive. "Were you holding hands?" William cleared his throat. "I was comforting Ms. Emma, Princess. The way she comforts you when you're sad." This explanation seemed to satisfy Lily. "Okay, can we have dinner now?" Mrs. Peterson made chicken pot pie. As they followed Lily to the dining room, William spoke quietly enough that only Emma could hear. "We'll figure this out, I promise." For the first time since Detective Morales had appeared at the door, Emma allowed herself to believe that might be true. But as the storm continued to rage outside, she couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. The next morning dawned bright and clear, the storm having washed the world clean overnight. Emma woke early, preparing herself mentally for the formal interview with Detective Morales later that day. William had assured her his attorneys would be present, but the prospect still filled her with dread. Trying to maintain normalcy, she helped Lily dress for the day, admiring how the child now confidently adjusted her wig without assistance. "Can we go to the beach today?" Lily asked, peering out the window at the sunlit grounds. "The storm probably washed up lots of cool shells." "We'll see," Emma hedged, not wanting to make promises she might not be able to keep. "I have an appointment this afternoon, but maybe your dad could take you." Lily's face fell slightly. "Daddy's busy. He's always on his phone since that policeman came." Emma's heart constricted. Nothing escaped this perceptive child. He's just taking care of some grown-up business. He'll have time for you soon. As if summoned by their conversation, William appeared in the doorway, already impeccably dressed despite the early hour. "Good morning, ladies. Lily, how would you feel about spending the day with Mrs. Peterson? She mentioned something about baking cookies and watching those ballet videos you discovered." Lily brightened somewhat. "Can we go to the beach after?" William hesitated, glancing at Emma. "We'll see. Ms. Emma and I have some important matters to attend to today." "Because of the policeman?" Lily asked directly. William and Emma exchanged surprised looks. William recovered first, kneeling to his daughter's level. "Yes, Princess. The policeman has some questions for Ms. Emma, and I need to help her answer them." "Is Ms. Emma in trouble?" "No," William said firmly. "Sometimes grown-ups need to explain things to other grown-ups, that's all." Lily didn't appear entirely convinced, but accepted her father's explanation. After breakfast, Emma helped settle her with Mrs. Peterson, who had prepared an ambitious day of activities designed to keep the child thoroughly distracted. William's driver took them to his Manhattan office, where the interview would take place on William's territory, a subtle power move that Emma appreciated. In the back of the Bentley, William reviewed strategy with her. "My attorneys will object to any inappropriate questions. Answer honestly but briefly. Don't volunteer information beyond what's asked." Emma nodded, her stomach knotted with anxiety. What if he asks directly about the morphine? "Tell the truth as you remember it. The medical records show your daughter's condition was terminal. Even if you did increase her dosage, it merely eased inevitable suffering." He squeezed her hand briefly. "You were cleared once before. We'll ensure the same outcome now." The conference room where Detective Morales waited was designed to intimidate, all gleaming wood and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city William had conquered. 2 attorneys from William's legal team were already present, as was a representative from the district attorney's office, a development that heightened Emma's concern. "Ms. Davis," Morales greeted her, deliberately using her current name rather than her former title. "Thank you for agreeing to this interview." "I wasn't aware I had a choice," Emma replied, taking the seat William held for her. "Everyone has choices," Morales said, the double meaning evident. "Some are just better than others." William's lead attorney, a formidable woman named Catherine Harlow, intervened smoothly. "Let's be clear about the parameters of this discussion. Ms. Davis is here voluntarily to clarify matters regarding a closed investigation. This is not a criminal interrogation." The interview proceeded tensely. Morales retraced ground Emma had covered multiple times during the original investigation: Olivia's final days, the pain management protocols, the last night. Emma answered as truthfully as she could, without explicitly confirming she had increased the morphine dosage beyond prescribed levels. The medical examiner noted that the morphine levels in your daughter's system were higher than would be expected from her prescribed dosage, Morales stated. How do you explain that discrepancy? Before Emma could answer, Catherine interjected. The medical board already addressed this question. The child's compromised liver function caused slower processing of the medication, leading to higher residual levels. Convenient explanation, Morales remarked, but let's hear from Ms. Davis herself. All eyes turned to Emma. She took a deep breath, meeting Morales's gaze directly. I followed the pain management protocol established by Olivia's oncologist. Her liver function was severely compromised in her final days. Beyond that, I can only speculate, which would be inappropriate given my emotional connection to the case. And your car accident 6 weeks later, Morales pressed. Also a coincidence? Objection, Catherine snapped. The accident has no relevance to this discussion. It speaks to Ms. Davis's state of mind, the DA representative countered, particularly given her current position caring for another critically ill child. A child who is thriving under her care, William interjected, his voice tight with controlled anger. A child who smiled for the first time in months because of this woman's compassion and understanding. Morales turned his attention to William. Mr. Thorne, with all due respect, your daughter's vulnerability makes this a matter of public safety. If there's even a possibility that Ms. Davis ended her own daughter's life, there isn't, William stated flatly. And this witch hunt ends today. The DA representative leaned forward. Mr. Thorne, no one is immune from investigation when a child's safety is at stake, not even someone with your resources. The tension in the room escalated until Catherine called for a brief recess. In a private office, Emma sank into a chair, emotionally exhausted. They're building toward a formal accusation, she whispered. They want to charge me with what happened to Olivia. William paced the length of the office. They have nothing but circumstantial evidence and a detective with a vendetta. It might be enough for a judge to order me removed from your household, Emma pointed out. At least temporarily while they investigate. The thought of being separated from Lily, of undoing all the progress they'd made, was unbearable. Even worse was the image of Lily's confusion and pain if Emma suddenly disappeared from her life. William stopped pacing abruptly. I won't let that happen. You might not have a choice. I always have choices, he said, echoing Morales's earlier statement, but with an entirely different meaning. When they returned to the conference room, William remained standing, commanding the attention of everyone present. Before we continue this charade, I want to make something perfectly clear, he began, his voice carrying the authority that had built his business empire. My legal team has spent the night reviewing every aspect of the original investigation into Olivia Davis Reynolds' passing. We've also thoroughly examined Detective Morales's actions both then and now. Morales shifted uncomfortably. Mr. Thorne, I'm not finished, William cut him off smoothly. What we've discovered is troubling, to say the least. A detective pursuing a closed case without new evidence, accessing sealed records without proper authorization, contacting witnesses with leading questions designed to support a predetermined conclusion. He turned to the DA representative. Your office might be interested in our findings. They suggest a pattern of procedural violations that could compromise any case built on Detective Morales's investigation. The DA representative frowned. These are serious allegations, Mr. Thorne. With substantial documentation to support them, Catherine added, sliding a folder across the table, including evidence that Detective Morales has a personal connection to this case that represents a clear conflict of interest. Morales's face flushed. That's absurd. Is it? William countered. Your sister-in-law was the head nurse on the pediatric oncology floor where Olivia Davis Reynolds was treated. She was disciplined after the investigation for failings in pain management protocol, a black mark on her record that has prevented her advancement. You've been pursuing this case as a personal vendetta, Detective, not as a matter of public safety. Silence fell over the room as the DA representative leafed through the documentation, her expression growing increasingly grave. Finally, she closed the folder. Detective Morales, I think we need to reassess the necessity of pursuing this matter further. She turned to Emma. Ms. Davis, while I understand the concerns that have been raised, at this time, There appears to be insufficient basis to reopen the investigation into your daughter's passing. Relief washed over Emma, though she maintained her composure. Thank you. As the meeting concluded, Morales approached Emma while William was engaged with the attorneys. This isn't over, he said quietly. Thorne's money and influence won't protect you forever. Let it go, Detective, Emma replied, finding strength she didn't know she possessed. For your sake as much as mine. Some wounds aren't meant to be reopened. The drive back to the Hamptons passed in contemplative silence. Emma gazed out at the passing landscape, processing the emotional whiplash of the day. Thank you, she said finally, for everything you did back there. William kept his eyes on the road ahead. I protect what matters to me. The simple statement carried implications that neither was ready to fully examine. When they arrived home, they found the house strangely quiet. Jenkins met them in the foyer, his usual composure shattered. Sir, there's been an incident. Lily was at the beach with Mrs. Peterson. She was wearing her wig and a gust of wind. Where is she? William demanded, alarm evident in his voice. The private cove, sir. She refuses to come inside without her wig. But the tide is coming in. Mrs. Peterson couldn't convince her to leave. Without a word, William and Emma rushed toward the beach path, fear propelling them forward. They found Mrs. Peterson standing helplessly at the edge of the cove, pointing toward a small figure huddled on a rock outcropping. Lily sat with her knees pulled to her chest, a scarf wrapped hastily around her bare head, tears streaming down her face. The wig blew into the water, Mrs. Peterson explained frantically. I tried to get it, but the current was too strong. She won't come back without it. William called out to his daughter, but Lily only curled tighter into herself, refusing to look up. The tide was indeed rising, the water already lapping at the base of the rocks where she sat. Lily, please come back, Emma tried. We can get you another wig. I want that one, Lily sobbed. It was special. It made me better. William scanned the water, spotting a flash of brown bobbing among the waves about 30 yards offshore. Without hesitation, he stripped off his suit jacket and kicked off his handmade Italian shoes. William, what are you? Emma began, but he was already wading into the surf. His $1,000 suit pants soaked instantly. Sir, the current, Jenkins called out in alarm. Let me call the groundskeeper. He's a stronger swimmer. But William continued, determination etched on his face as he pushed through the increasingly powerful waves. When the water reached his chest, he began swimming toward the floating wig, his powerful strokes belying his usual boardroom image. Emma and the others watched in tense silence as he reached the wig, grasping it triumphantly before turning back toward shore. The return journey proved more difficult, the current working against him now. For a terrifying moment, he disappeared beneath a wave, only to resurface seconds later, still clutching his prize. By the time he staggered back onto the beach, William Thorne, always immaculate, always controlled, was a sodden mess. His tailored shirt clung to his body, his perfectly styled hair plastered to his forehead, his eyes red from the salt water. But in his hand, he held the bedraggled wig. Lily watched in disbelief as her father, ignoring his ruined clothes and the shocked expressions of the household staff, made his way carefully across the rocks to where she sat. Your hair? Princess, he said simply, holding out the dripping wig. Lily stared at him, then at the wig, then back at her father. You got all wet. Your fancy suit is ruined. It's just a suit, William said, the words carrying a weight of revelation. It doesn't matter. Those 4 words, from a man whose entire life had been built on the premise that appearance, status, and material possessions were paramount, struck Emma like a thunderbolt. William Thorne had just publicly declared a new value system, one in which his daughter's happiness outranked his own carefully cultivated image. Lily reached for the wig, but then hesitated. Slowly she unwound the scarf from her head, revealing her bare scalp to the open air for the first time in months. Maybe I don't need it right now, she said quietly. Maybe just when I go out. William blinked in surprise, then smiled, a genuine, unguarded smile that transformed his usually stern features. Whatever you want, Princess. Let's go home and get dry. As they made their way back to the house, Lily walking between William and Emma, her small hands clasped in theirs, Emma felt a sense of peace settle over her. The specters of the past, Olivia, the investigation, her own guilt hadn't vanished, but somehow their power had diminished in the face of this small family, taking shape before her eyes. Later that evening, after Lily had been tucked into bed, Emma found William on the terrace, gazing out at the now calm ocean. He'd changed into casual clothes, jeans and a simple sweater that made him look younger, more approachable. "She's asleep," Emma reported. "She wants you to know she's sorry about your suit." William chuckled softly. "I told her I'd buy another, though perhaps not for swimming next time." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, the day's events settling around them like the night air. "Morales won't be a problem anymore," William said finally. "My team found evidence of multiple procedural violations in his investigation. The DA has reassigned him to traffic duty in Staten Island." "That seems harsh," Emma observed, though relief coursed through her. Protecting one's family sometimes requires decisive action. The word family hung between them, laden with meaning. "Is that what we are?" Emma asked softly. "A family?" William turned to face her, his expression more open than she'd ever seen it. "I don't know what we are, Emma. I only know that when I saw Lily sitting on those rocks today, terrified of losing something that mattered to her, I understood for the first time what really matters to me." "And what's that?" "Not my company, not my reputation, not even my damned Italian suits." He stepped closer, his hand finding hers. "What matters is Lily's happiness, and somewhat to my surprise, yours." Emma's breath caught. "William, you came into our lives when we were both lost," he continued. "You saw what Lily needed when I couldn't. You understood her pain in a way I never could, because you'd lived it yourself." "I was just doing my job," Emma protested weakly. "No, you were healing yourself by healing my daughter. And in the process, you started healing me too." His fingers tightened around hers. "I don't know if I'm ready for whatever this is between us. I don't know if you are either. But I do know I don't want you to leave." Emma looked up at this complex man, a titan of industry who had dived into the ocean fully clothed to retrieve a $40 wig, a father who was learning to put love above perfection, a widower taking his first tentative steps toward a future he hadn't planned. "I don't want to leave either," she admitted. "But Lily has to come first, for both of us." "Always," William agreed. "We go as slowly as she needs." As if to seal this unspoken covenant, he leaned forward and pressed a gentle kiss to Emma's forehead. Not a declaration of passion, but a promise of possibility. 5 years later, the Thorne estate hosted a celebration. Now 12 years old, Lily Thorne performed a solo ballet recital on the terrace for an intimate gathering of family and friends. Her own hair had grown back long ago, golden like her mother's, but with the same determined wave as her father's. She danced with grace and confidence, the years of illness now just a distant memory. William and Emma watched from the front row, their hands intertwined, matching gold bands catching the evening light. Beside them sat a curly-haired toddler who clapped enthusiastically for his big sister, occasionally reaching up to touch the locket around Emma's neck, a locket that contained a tiny photo of Olivia, now a cherished part of their blended family's history rather than a painful secret. The Thorne mansion, once cold and museum-like, had transformed into a true home. Family photos lined the walls alongside the priceless art. Children's toys sometimes cluttered the immaculate floors. Laughter echoed through rooms that had once known only tense silence. And William Thorne, still formidable in the boardroom, had learned the most valuable investment strategy of all. That love, freely given and received, yields returns no financial portfolio ever could. As Lily completed her performance with a perfect arabesque, Emma squeezed William's hand. "She's amazing," she whispered. "She had excellent teachers," William replied, his gaze encompassing both the ballet instructor and the woman beside him, who had taught their family the most important lesson of all, that healing comes not from perfection or control, but from acceptance, honesty, and the courage to begin again. Fim de Historia. Dear listeners, we hope that William and Emma's journey of healing and connection has touched your hearts. Their story reminds us that sometimes the most valuable treasures aren't found in mansions or boardrooms, but in the moments when we're brave enough to be vulnerable with each other. For more emotional stories like this one, check out our special playlist by clicking the link to your left. If this tale of family and second chances moved you, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Every day, we bring you unique stories that explore the complexity of human relationships and the power of compassion. Don't miss our upcoming content. We have so many more heartfelt narratives to share with you. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.